Dementia Researcher with a blog and a rating.
Since it's Mental Health Awareness Week this week, I thought it'd be a good opportunity to talk about something that I've recently started to experience. It's very much one of those, this is an issue I have, and by talking about it, maybe anyone else who's affected will find some comfort or useful advice sort of blogs. If any of you are reading or listening to this are familiar with either my blogs or my podcast work, you'll know that just over a year ago, I was diagnosed with a chronic digestive autoimmune condition called ulcerative colitis. Essentially, when it feels like it, my immune system attacks my digestive tract. This results in extremely debilitating symptoms, and it's actually landed me in hospital for 7 days at the start of this year. When I was first diagnosed, the specialist told me lots of information about the disease. He explained the cause and the symptoms and detailed the standard strategy with dealing with something like this. Essentially, they cycle you through a load of different medications until something works. In a low percentage of cases, nothing works and you require life-changing surgery, but so far this doesn't seem to be required for me. What I didn't mention was anything about how to deal with this mentally. A chronic illness like this is a very strange thing to have to process. The likelihood of my colitis killing me is extremely low. It's not a disease that affects your life expectancy, but when it's active, it has a huge impact on quality of life. You can't leave your home, you barely sleep, your appetite vanishes, and you become incredibly weak and shed a frankly dangerous amount of weight. When things are back under control, it can take quite a while to recover. These episodes are known as flares, and they're the biggest cause of mental health issues in patients like me. Once you've gone through something like that, you have a new fear to deal with. All you can remember is how sick you were and obsess over how much you don't want to let that happen again. It can create quite a severe anxiety that you have to learn to tame. Any slight deviation from feeling 100% has you panicking that you're headed into another flare, and you remember how fast it escalated last time. The issue is that this creates stress, and what does stress do? It increases your risk of flaring once again. It's something you have to try and stay on top of. On top of that, you have the why me scenario, this wondering of why did I get this disease? It can take quite a toll on your mental well-being to not feel like a normal member of society. You feel like you can't go out to a restaurant and eat and drink what you want without having to worry. But here's the thing, there's something positive to take from that feeling. Let's start with that latter point of not feeling normal. While a chronic illness can feel like it steals a part of your life, it can also be an excuse to try and make better changes. My partner encouraged me to use this as an opportunity to try and get healthier. I asked why me, but really I knew the answer. Years of processed foods, poor exercise habits, and bad self-care had taken a toll. Lots of people can keep doing that and never have consequences like mine, but I can't. There's nothing I can do about it, but I can use it as an opportunity to try and better myself. So many chronic illnesses can be alleviated by better lifestyle choices. Knowing that makes you feel a little bit of empowerment. Yes, I did this to myself, but that means I have the ability to help try and fix it. If I want, I can go out and drink 6 pints of beer, but there will be consequences. If I don't do that, not only do I avoid symptoms, but I also contribute to building a healthier body for myself. You have to recognize and believe that your chronic illness making you different is not necessarily a bad thing. The illness itself isn't great, but you can hold on to the fact that you have power over how much you can let it affect your life. There's times when, sadly, the symptoms are too severe. On those days, the disease wins. But there are so many other days when you can win and you can go out and live your life. You've got to appreciate those days and live in those moments. I've never been more appreciative of being able to go out for a walk or even just the shops. When you've got a chronic illness, you realize something as simple as going to Home Bargains to look at candles can really be a gift because you've always had days when you couldn't even do that. If you can change your mentality in this way, your appreciation of life goes up dramatically. Now let's touch back on that anxiety point. This is a tricky one because it requires a much more personal approach. I'm not a therapist, and if you desperately need help, I'd recommend seeking the aid of a professional. You might even be able to find therapists who specialize in helping deal with your illness. However, I would like to tell you that I do think this could be conquered as well. So-called flare anxiety has plagued me since I had my first severe episode last summer. I would question every slight movement in my stomach and overanalyze every time I went to the bathroom. It took a while, but eventually I found out what works for me, and it's so simple. I have to think that I'm normal when I'm not flaring. It's like I don't have colitis. I eat well and exercise, and I definitely recommend exercise to reduce anxiety. I also take my medications as advised, but other than that, I carry on as if I am normal. I don't need to examine my toilet visits because if I'm sick, I'll certainly know it without having to do that. I realised that my anxiety had me living in fear, and that would only make things worse. I could get sick again, and I could end up back in hospital, but what good is worrying about it going to do? I'd rather live my life, and if I end up back on a ward, at least I enjoyed the times in between. I guess what I'm trying to say is I find living in the moment as much as possible works for me. You never know what is around the corner, so enjoy right now, the immediate moment. Nothing else matters more than that. So if you can make the most of it and enjoy it, you can control yourself and have a better control over your illness. Summarizes the point I want to make. You have to feel like you control your illness and your illness doesn't control you.
Thank you for listening. Join the Dementia Research bloggers and share your own views.